Welcome everyone to another Money Honey show. Now, when we talk about women in property, finance and construction, I never thought I'd find a Money Honey that actually does everything all at the same time in one go. And I didn't find them actually, they found me. And this is what I love about social media and the internet is that I put something out there and it attracts the right people to me. And this is where literally the coincidences turn into magic. So yesterday, as I was getting ready for the show today, somebody cancelled their show last minute. Now, these are precious slots, and I know this happens, right? You know, people have to cancel last minute. That's okay, I understand. But obviously, there's a queue of people trying to get on the show. So I try and make sure that every time I'm recording, I've got a full packed day. So I had this free slot, and last minute, I didn't know how I was going to find anybody. And then my message, my inbox in LinkedIn just pings. And there's this person in my inbox saying, I've heard about the Money Honey show. I want to be on it. I'd like to speak. And I said, well, if you can get yourself ready for tomorrow, I'd love to have you on the show. And she did. And that's what I love. Someone who raises their hand, says, hey, I'm ready. I want to speak. And then actually puts everything in motion to make it happen. And that was a pure coincidence. I didn't know that was going to work out the way it did, but I'm so glad it did because the person I've got on the show today works for a housing association by day. Part-time, she's also self-employed and is a fully qualified protection advisor. And she is actually also an author. So we have got the wonderful, the talented, my newfound friend that I've never met before. This is the first time we're going to actually speak properly. Debbie Liadi, welcome to the show. Hi.
Hi, Rosalia.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. And you?
Good, yes, I'm very, very well. Thank you so much. And as you've just heard me say, you know, your message could not be more perfectly timed. And it was just meant to be that you came into my inbox just randomly. I'm so happy that this podcast has found you, and I'm really happy that you found me.
I am the happiest person for finding you. You know what happened? I followed one of my own mantras, and that is, just try. You never know. I found you. I'm new into LinkedIn. I never knew how to use it. And only recently I started using LinkedIn. So I follow my instructor's instruction, comment, connect, and all that. And then I found you. I was like, interesting. But your message was, nominate yourself or somebody else. And I was thinking, who can I nominate? Then I let it go. Then later I said, wait a minute, why don't you nominate yourself? You never know. The worst that can happen is that no. So I sent the message, and it was divine timing.
I love that, and I believe in that, Debbie. I don't know what denomination and what religious background you're from, if any, but you know, the words you're using imply that you might have some sort of spiritual essence in you, and I do believe in divine timing. I believe in that so much, and like I said, there was a cancellation at 3 p.m. and you came into my inbox and I said, well, if you're available at 3 p.m., then come on the show. So well done. Firstly, I speak on behalf of all the women, my younger self who wish there was more female faces on the screen and in financial services that I could have, you know, really followed in their footsteps. So I thank you for obviously nominating yourself and speaking up and being the face of the industry. So thank you, Debbie.
Thank you too.
So for those people who haven't connected with you before and they don't know who you are, I know you were telling me offline. So please tell us all the things that you do, everything that you're involved in. Just start somewhere and give us a bit of an intro.
Okay, start somewhere. I'm Debbie Liadi. I'm a specialist protection advisor. Among the many hats that I wear, I primarily work in the finance sector. I do insurance and estate planning. I have a day job, and in my day job, and work in the construction industry, which was part of what I found interesting about you, ladies in finance, construction, and property. I was like, oh, there are other women like me. Fine, let me see what this is all about. So I'm also into construction. We build houses and we sell. I work for a housing association. And I'm also a speaker and an author. How come I manage all these hats on my head? One thing just led to the other, to the other, to the other. My first degree was actually in computer science. And then back home in my country, when you graduate from uni, you're expected to do a 1-year program of service to the government. And it's called NYSC, National Youth Service Corps. I went for that, and I was posted to a bank. I was like, I don't want to work in a bank. But things happen. I ended up working in the banking sector for 12 years. I worked with 3 major banks in Nigeria, and then it was time for us to move. That's when we relocated to UK. So when I came into UK, it was initially difficult getting a professional job. It was like, oh, you don't have UK experience, you don't have UK qualification. So I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? I have to put food on my table. So one day, an advisor came to see my husband to review his policy. And we got talking. So I was like, this sounds interesting, similar to part of the experience I've had in the banking sector. So I signed up, and that's how I started my insurance advisor career with MetLife. So I worked with MetLife for like 2 years, and then after that, I moved on to another company, Unishore. I was with Unishore up until 2001, December. That's when I now moved on to Precise Protect, where I am currently. I love doing what I do because life happens. My own life, I've seen a lot of life happening. So I understand how traumatic it can be when life happens and you're not prepared. So that's part of what built my passion for what I do. And mostly, I like focusing on women like myself. Part of the reason I was attracted to you on LinkedIn. So what do? I specialize in putting in place protection plans. For me, I will first ask people, what is your most valuable asset? You'll be amazed at the number of answers. Let me ask you, Rosalia, what is your most valuable asset?
My health.
Some people will say, my children. Some will say, my house, and all kinds of answers. But I bring them back and I say, the most valuable asset you have is yourself, your health, your ability to get up and go and do whatever it is you want to do. So if you're not able to get up and go, how can you look after your children and the rest of your life? And that's how I start my conversations. Look after number one. If for any reason anybody is unable to work and earn an income due to accident, sickness, or injury, my next question to them is, for how long will you be able to maintain your current lifestyle with no income coming in? If you looked at my LinkedIn post a couple of weeks ago, I did one from Legal and General, deadline to breadline. The average UK family can hardly survive beyond 24 days with no new income coming in before they start feeling the pinch. So for me, the first port of call in my financial advice is to protect your income. If you had a goose that laid golden eggs, what would you do? Who would you look after the most, the eggs or the goose? So
yeah,
moving on from there, I can now look at your health, because I will use myself as an example. March 2020, COVID came. Nobody was really expecting it. And lockdown happened. And I got the COVID. And I was really knocked down for 4 months. But there's a saying that says, physician, heal yourself. Thank God, I had my own income protection cover in place. So for that 4 months, I was out of work. I couldn't work. I was just struggling to stay alive. I got paid. So that's part of the things I always tell people. When we're talking about protection, it saddens me when things happen, especially in my community, and then you find people carrying what I would call offering baskets about, asking for donations, GoFundMe, and stuff like that. But this needn't be the case if you took the time to sit down with an advisor and put a plan in place for yourself. For as little as the price of a cup of coffee every day, you can design something that will be a fallback position for yourself. For my fellow ladies, they'll say, oh, I can't afford it. I ask them, how much did you pay for your last manicure?
How much? Sorry?
How much did they pay for their last manicure?
Yeah.
You find the people.
What's the question, Debbie? The question is, I get it. Like, honestly, you don't need to convince me. I understand about protection. I understand about health, the best investment and all that. And we know how affordable protection can be. I mean, some protection policies are cheaper than internet, Netflix, Amazon Prime, all of these subscription services. You can get protection, worldwide cover for $5 a month, right? So what is the hesitation? Why would people even hesitate? Why do we have to go through a journey and an emotional story with them when it just sounds so obvious? What is the holdback?
For me, I believe, one, lack of education about insurance. Two, they probably do not see the value. Most often than not, I've seen it's when something has happened to somebody that they know, that they come running, oh, and I really need to take this thing. An example that I will share with you, one of my clients, pediatrician, I saw her because she's recently moved house to a bigger property, and they wanted to increase their cover. So we did the review, and then I now asked, what about income protection? And she was like, oh no, the NHS will cover me, I'm fine, no problem. I said, okay, no problem. Normally NHS, they would receive 6 months full pay and 6 months half pay. 2 weeks down the line, this lady starts chasing me on the phone. I saw her calls, her messages. I was like, I hope all is well. So when we eventually were able to speak, she now said that when I saw her, she was off sick. She had taken 2 weeks off. By the time it was around Christmas, and by the time they paid her, they made a mistake and paid her only for 2 weeks. So that was a rude shock that half pay is not going to cut it. And then a friend of hers, this lady is just in her early 40s, suffered a massive stroke. And she said she knows that lady will never be able to walk again unless a miracle happens. So with those two shockers, within that 2 weeks, she was chasing me and took up an income protection.
Yeah.
So it's either they don't see the value, they feel it's not going to happen to me.
Do Do you think maybe they don't, there's an element of trust? Do you think people trust insurance companies? Do you think they get them and understand them well enough that they have the confidence that actually they will get covered and they will get payout and that they will get protected?
The issue of trust is there. And when I get faced with this kind of issues, the way I educate the prospect is that, look, first thing, in this country, we have the FCA. We have the Financial Services, FSCS. Yeah? So you don't have to worry that your money is going to go bust should anything happen. And I said, secondly, the reason, if you want to tell me, oh, this person had insurance, and when it was time to claim, they started asking for this or asking for that, and they didn't pay. One thing I always tell my clients, first and foremost, you have a responsibility to declare every material fact, because a failure to do that may affect a future claim. You may not even get any payout, or just a bit of a payout. Why does this happen to people? In fact, just today, this morning, I was at a BNI meeting, and I was speaking with a guy, and I said to him, I said, look, after speaking with him, he said, okay, he will do a bit of research, and then he will come back to me. I said, that's where some people make the mistake. They go online, click, tick, 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 buy insurance. I said, but insurance industry has a lot of terminology that people don't understand. So you go on there and you're ticking and you're ticking and you're ticking. And then something happens, you want to make a claim, and they bring out your form and you've ticked something you probably shouldn't have. So those are the kind of little bits and bobs that give people the mistrust that insurance companies, all they know is take your money, take your money, take your money. When it's time for them to pay out, they start saying this and they start saying that. I said, no, that's not the case. It is in the best interest of insurance companies to pay out claims. They actually want to pay you out the claim. But at the onset, you must have done your due diligence and declared every material fact. Don't say, for example, I don't smoke, because you probably just are an occasional smoker, a social smoker. You only take maybe one fag when you're out with friends. That's one thing that you did not declare can affect your claim.
Yeah. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. I think people either don't get it or they've gone down the wrong route and not got the right advice. So, yeah, it's absolutely crucial that if this is something that you are taking seriously, that you need to get the proper advice for it. Now, Debbie, I do want to really highlight something very important that you've been able to achieve, a huge milestone, as well as your day job in the Housing Association, your self-employed business as a protection advisor. You've also become an author. I've noticed that you have a book, that you released a book, and that book, I think, can speak to, it's quite, based on what I know about it offline, it's definitely a vulnerable side to your life, right? To your journey, and a part of your life that you care to share via a book. Can you tell us a little bit about it? I don't want to reveal too much without you really sharing it. So what's the book called, just so the listeners can hear, and why did you write it?
The title of my book is Married for 24 Years, but Living Single. And the reason why I wrote it was I felt I needed to share my experience with others so that they could learn from my mistakes. There's really no point inventing the wheel. Why make mistakes when you can learn from other people's mistakes? That's number one reason. And number two reason was writing it was kind of like therapeutic for me. I found some kind of healing in pouring it out in a book.
Yeah, I love that. Now, you were telling me offline when I was, when we were discussing the book, that this book was about, or is about, your past marriage and how the marriage was no longer successful. It didn't go ahead. You had to terminate it. And how money manifested itself as well within your marriage, the breakdown of money, or the breakdown in communication about money, and how that had its effect on your relationship, right? So could you tell us a little bit about that? Because I think a lot of people listening, and the reason I want to point that bit out, obviously, given that you're on the Money Honey show, is that I think a lot of people are in a relationship, but have a loving relationship with their partner, but they don't have the same attitude or mindset towards money. And so whilst they love each other and they have a phenomenal life together, what ends up breaking down is that money blueprint, that money mindset, or the money habits that they tend to have. So what do you share in your book? How did money play out in your marriage?
Like you rightly said, money is one big relationship killer. We all come from different backgrounds, different upbringing. Our attitude to money is totally different. Some are risk takers, some are not. For someone like me, I believe more in people than things. If I lose £1 million, if I had, I'll probably just cry a bit and then move on. It's just money. But my husband wasn't like that. He was very careful with money. I could spend money like there was no tomorrow, but he wouldn't spend money like that. And then in the marriage, when we first started, I had to take up some petty trading to help the family finances. And then, like I explained to you earlier, I got the job in the banking sector, one of the biggest banks in Nigeria, and I was earning big money. So I now realized that was a problem.
That was a problem for who? For him or for you?
Him. For him.
So you earning a lot of money was a problem for him. How so?
How so? Because I had my ideas of how to spend money, which did not go down well with him. You understand? I could, for example, decide I want to go on holiday. Let's go on holiday. No, let's keep this money. But the fact that what part of the breakers for me was, I realized that every time I got a promotion or I got a raise, and I came, I said, oh, see, I'm getting this amount of money. One incident, I was going to be paid a lump sum, and I said, I'm going to be paid this amount of money. What do we do with this money? And he said to me, let's make a gym for people to come in and use. Now, gym industry is nothing compared to fitness industry here. And in the environment where we wanted to put it, it was not going to work. So I was like, instead of setting up a gym for people to come in and pay peanuts to use, why not let's buy half a plot of land and put on that plot of land what in this country will be called bed seats for students. And if the students pay 1 year in advance, there were often a lot of university strikes back then. So the students could actually be at home for 6 months. But the thing is, they're paid for 1 year. And the next day, they'll pay again. And then when these strikes happen and the students go back home, this campus is going to be empty. Nobody's going to come to any gym. So that we had many money differences. And with hindsight, my children actually told me that I was the one who spoiled him. Like I said, I have a certain taste. I like good things. So I'll buy good things. And I'll spend money. He also likes good things, but he just won't spend money the way I spend money. So he now like, okay, spend your money the way you want. So eventually I became responsible for everything. the whole household bill, even though he could afford it. I was like, do it. So that's one thing I'll tell ladies. In any relationship, sit down and have that money conversation. One other example, we had a joint account. We agreed, let's have a joint account. Let's put money. And that will be like the family honeypot. Yeah? So we opened a joint account. Well, at the end of the day, I realized that I was the only one putting money in there. He didn't put any money. And then one day, he took some of the money and paid off a bill or something. I was like, why would you take that money without discussing with me? It's our family joint account, you know? So one time I just got annoyed. Took my money and went on a holiday. And that was it. So money should be discussed in a relationship.
I know that money, oh gosh, that is definitely when we, this is so awkward, when we go out with friends, like couples, because I feel like me and my husband are so solid. Like we make decisions really, really well together, and about money as well. So when we go out with our friends and like, there's been times when someone's been like, are you paying that? Because I paid the other meal and I think the difference is £6 and I think you owe me £6. And we're sitting there at the table like, okay, I don't really want to hear this conversation. This is really awkward because we can see them having a money breakdown because there's something about, it's such an emotion. There's no right or wrong, okay? But there's such an emotional attachment to this money where it's like, no, but I paid £6 more in the other restaurant. So this time you have to pay £6 more and things like that. And it's just, like I said, there is no right or wrong, but the way my husband and I do it, like, yes, we have a joint account so that when we go out and we, you know, go to the supermarket or we go shopping or we go to a restaurant, you know, we pay with that one card if we're not treating each other, if you like. So we have our own separate money because quite frankly, if I want to go and get my nails done or, you know, I have a lot of beauty treatments, you know, because girls, you know, they have to have their eyebrows, their hair, everything, right? In comparison to what guys do. I mean, I'm trying to force him to do more treatments. You know, if he ever gets a facial once a year, it's because I forced him into it. But because I have so many of my own personal treats that I want to pay for, I don't expect that to come out of our joint account. So I have my own private account. But even then, like I remember just to give another example like you have, during lockdown, I wanted to go, once lockdown started to ease off, because we couldn't go abroad at that time anyway, I wanted to do a staycation, but a fitness staycation where I would go and like do a boot camp, and I was going to stay at this retreat for a week. And it was going to cost like £1,500. Like, it's not a cheap retreat. It was £1,500 for 1 week. And I would get like accommodation, you know, 6 hours of fitness all day, plus food and all that kind of stuff. And I remember thinking, wow, that's quite a lot of money, but I really want to do it. I've been made redundant at the time. I'd been made redundant. I'd started my own business. So I started earning this business, right? So I started earning my own money again because I'd been on furlough. And I remember ringing my husband who was at work, and I said, hey, listen, I really have just been thinking about this. I really want to go on this retreat. I think it'll do me really good. You know, I've been really, really stressed lately. But he was like, babe, like, stop justifying yourself. Like, do you want to go on this retreat? And I was like, yeah, I do. And he was like, look, it's your money. Like, at the end of the day, that is your money. Obviously, if I had taken out £1,500 from our joint holiday money, he'd be like, okay, let's discuss it. He would still, knowing what he's like, I bet he would have just been like, babe, you need it, do it. I know he would have done that, but I would have discussed it first. And I think that's the difference, isn't it? It's you saying, look, let's have these open and honest conversations. How do you feel? How do I feel? How can we meet in the middle? And so I just said to him, I was like, look, you don't see us going on holiday at the moment. So I think I'd want to spend my part of the budget on this retreat because I think it would do me really well. And that's the way we never, if you like, argue about money, because we are quite honest with each other about what we want out of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, yeah, so your book is quite interesting in the sense that I know your marriage had other things going on. It wasn't just about the money, but it's such a, like you said, it's such a pillar in your relationship that you need to have these open and honest money conversations, because they can break down. So, as your closing comments, I know the half an hour has flown by, and thank you everyone tuning in. A lot of people I know listen to this on their commute to work and or on their run, which is why I like to keep it short and sweet. So, what would be your closing remarks, your closing comments to the listeners listening to you right now? Again, remember, these are women in property, finance, and construction. They're either got their own business or they work in the industry. And it's about women and money in general. So what is your female money story that you would like to leave with people?
My female money story I would like to leave is, one, if you have that gut feeling to do something, just do it. Yesterday when I sent that message, I was coming from site. I was on the train, just doing my LinkedIn thing. And I said, do it. Number two, that I'd like to leave ladies with, and I tell this to the younger girls, please, 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 whatever you do, make sure you have your economic independence. Don't depend on anybody to take care of you. Have your own economic independence. Number three thing I'll say, just like you shared, have that conversation with your partner. You all know, you know each other's money styles. One person can be the spender and the other person the holder. But if you have these open, honest conversations, you can strike a balance without it causing a friction. And as you said as well, even if you decide to have a joint account, it's also good to have your own personal money, because you can do some things with your money that will not affect the pot. You might decide to give yourself a treat. You might decide to help somebody in need out. You don't need to ask permission to spend your own money within reason. So that's what I'll say to my fellow ladies when it comes to money. I just couldn't believe that there are women like me, honestly. Finance, construction, property. Let's go there.
Yes. Yes, Debbie. Yeah, I love that. So those 4 money lessons that you just shared are so crucial. If you're listening to this, those are Debbie's 4 top money lessons from today's show. I'm sure you all have your own lessons as well, your own top tips. Please do share. When we share this episode and it's launched on our social media pages, feel free to interact, connect, share your comments, but also reach out to Debbie. If you liked this show, I love it when the speakers receive a message. Even if it's you, if you feel today, Debbie really, really spoke to you, please give Debbie a thumbs up on the show, give her a like as you listen to the show. And where can we connect with you, Debbie, and where can we buy the book if we wanted to read the book in full?
Okay, the book is available on Amazon and Kindle. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and I have a YouTube channel, actually.
Amazing. Well, I was going to say, you're such a great speaker. I'm sure you do a lot of videos and you want to speak as much as possible, right? So what's your YouTube channel called?
Debbie Liadi.
Oh, Debbie. Oh, so your surname is not Liadi,
My surname is Liadi, but my middle name is Olabisi.
Okay, right. So what we'll do, everybody listening to the show, just in case you missed it, in the show notes, you'll have links to Debbie's social media pages and the book. We'll share the book as well, because, if you feel like you're in a relationship where actually you've got, money barriers, money blocks, or, maybe you feel like you've married the wrong person and you're going through that, you're trying to assess that, 'cause this is what Debbie and I were talking about. Debbie says she married really, really young. So maybe you're thinking, right, we've grown up, we've changed, their mindset, my mindset, their habits, my habits. There's no synergy anymore. What do you do to make that work? Debbie really shares her story in that book. If you feel like that's something that's going to relate to you, if you feel like that's something that is going to help you during this time, or maybe you know somebody that is going through that and actually they could benefit from listening to this. So please do. Yes, I know you're listening and taking it all in for yourself, but if you know that there is someone that could benefit, please do share it with them as well. Debbie, you've been a phenomenal money honey in property, finance, and construction. You've covered all angles. I love the fact that we've connected. So thank you so much again.
Thank you so much for having me.